It was Islam at places like Uluzada that carried the light of learning through so many centuries, paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment.
Please, spit take. This is Wretched Radio. That is the President of the United States proclaiming the wonderful results of the religion of Islam. True? False? Joining us, Robert Spencer of JihadWatch.org, his new book, The Complete Infidel's Guide to the Koran, looking into the book itself, the Koran. What does it teach about peace? What does it teach about marital relations? What does it teach about the Jews? What about the Christians? Robert Spencer, appreciate it, sir. I know you're on your last leg today with it. It's not the swine flu, is it?
I'm fine, thanks.
All right. No swine flu for you, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
All right, let's keep it that way. All right. Sir, let's talk about what we just heard briefly. Islam has paved the way for the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. Is that true?
No, what Obama is referring to is the very common historical myth that Muslims translated the classics of the Greek philosophers and preserved them while the Europeans were throwing them away. This is a very, very common myth, but it is just that, a myth. It's not something that is genuine. In reality, interestingly enough, it was Arabic-speaking Christians in the Islamic world who translated the Greek classics and preserved them. And it was, in many cases, the Byzantines who translated these classics. It was not, in most cases, Muslims who were doing it. And the Muslim philosophers who did translate these works or used the translations and worked from them, they were ultimately branded as heretics within the Islamic world. And so it isn't as if there was ever really this beacon of learning and enlightenment in the Islamic world. It's there's just no actual historical evidence for it.
Okay, not a beacon, light bulb, flashlight, candle. Can we give credit
Yeah,
anywhere?
something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so what can we say, point to Islam and say, that we can be thankful for?
Well, how about being here? How about being in the New World? We owe that to Islam, because in 1453 the Muslims conquered Constantinople, and at that point the trade route that had gone between Europe and India and was the source of the Europeans getting spices and various other goods from India, it was suddenly closed off. It wasn't closed off in an official way. It just became too dangerous to pass, because the Muslims would rob and often kill the Europeans who would pass that way. And so Christopher Columbus set out west trying to find an alternative route to India, because the old one had become too dangerous because of the Muslims. And so we owe the discovery of America to Islam.
Mm-hmm. That's not exactly what I meant, but okay. All right, Robert, tell us, please, the life of Muhammad. Was that a life that you and I would like to see our children emulate?
Well, the life of Muhammad is something that is held up as a model for emulation in the Islamic world. It's in the Koran. And this is something that is very important, because it has geopolitical implications, as obviously as Obama's speech makes clear, but also because Muhammad was a political leader and a military leader, and Islam has always had a political extension. But in terms of whether we would want our children to emulate him, well, he did marry the 9-year-old when he was 54. He married her when she was 6, actually, and consummated the marriage when she was 9. And he had many wives. He was a warrior who fought 78 battles, 77 of which were offensive. And so this is somebody I would suggest is not really a guy we would want as a model for emulation. And one of the main problems in the world is that there are so many people who think of him as a model for emulation.
Uh-huh. And how did he treat the Mrs.'s?
He didn't treat them very well. There's one notable example. You often hear Islamic apologists say Muhammad never struck his wives, but actually in Islamic tradition there is exactly an example of one of Muhammad's wives, in fact his favorite wife, Aisha, saying that the Prophet struck me on the chest and caused me pain.
Mm-hmm. But he didn't do it a lot. It was just once in a while. It was because what does in Islam, sir, What rises to the level of earning a woman, a wife, a beating from her husband?
Well, that could be anything, really. That's something that is at the discretion of the husband. It's just disobedience in general in the Koran. It says good women are obedient. And as for those that are not, give them a warning. That's step one. And then send them to separate beds, which is step two, which I think most people in the West would agree is more of a punishment for the husband than the wife. And third, beat them. And so the wife beating is given divine sanction in Islam is really something that can happen on any basis. For
denying the marriage bed, for not going out properly dressed?
Yeah, denying the marriage bed is something explicitly noted by Muhammad, that if a man says he wants to sleep with his wife and the wife refuses, the angels will curse her until morning.
Mm-hmm.